You should definitely do merch and sell an actual real life pub coin.
Pub coin? Okay, I can probably sell like a little.
Make it a cryptocurrency.
Oh yeah, that as well.
I'm announcing the pub coin as cryptocurrency right now.
Brilliant.
All right, thank you so much for everyone joining us for the question and answer session. If you missed the first video we did, and if you're watching this on YouTube, we did a discussion with Olli and LevelCap and their experiences with Star Citizen so far. You can follow it'll be on YouTube. It'll be right above Olli's head. Will be the link, and then if you're watching listen to this on the podcast on Spotify, it'll be the previous episode. And if you're watching this live, you should be able to, watch back the VOD on Twitch. So lots of places to listen to this content. But now is the question and answer session where we've taken questions from the chat, and they can be for individual cast members, for the whole cast, whatever, as long as they're Star Citizen related. So the first question is from GDEXG, who asks, how much do you love the Mezzers, and why is it a lot?
I'm lost. What?
So, a bit of a lore boot camp. Mezzers were this horrible dictatorial regime that ruled the humanity for like 200, 300 years before Star Citizens. Like, we're about 200 years after the last Mezzer was overthrown, and humanity was returned to like more semi-democratic in its.
I'm listening.
So the Mezzers were these autocrats who controlled everything for like 300 years. So there's a not so subtle joke about people running around being like, the Mezzers had everything right, that kind of old chestnut. So all right, next question comes from Delight, who asks, 10 new missions in Star Citizen with adding 1 year onto the release of Squadron 42, or 1 year less of Squadron 42 release with only 3 new missions in Star Citizen. Choose one.
Well, hang on.
Second
missions. Do they mean like just quest lines or something?
I think so. I think what they're saying is like, if you could add 10 new missions into Star Citizen, but it would add an additional year of development to Squadron, or you reduce the development of Squadron by a year, but you'd only get 3 missions, what would you choose?
I mean, reduce the development time of Squadron 42. Let's get those devs over to the persistent universe. I mean, it seems like we're just in a one before the other sequence right now. So just get that one done, man. Let's get it out the door.
Okay, I have a question. I'm redeeming my pub coin. How long do you think the Squadron 42 gameplay will be? In terms, if it's a linear experience, it will be pretty calculated, right?
They've actually said this at one point, and since then it's gotten bigger. The last time they told us it was about a 20-hour experience for just the single player, and then if you did all the side missions, it would be a 40-hour experience.
Just stop development. It's done. They don't need to add more.
I'm good. I don't even need a 20-hour single player campaign.
No,
it's shorter for me.
So the key with Squadron, which is important to kind of understand, is that Squadron is being built in this concept of this is your objective, go. You're free to choose how you approach the objective and any way you think you can get it done. And there'll be multiple ways that they'll build out the objectives. So like one mission can take an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, depending on how you approach the mission. If you want to go full stealth or just kill everyone or use flight, or you want to EVA into like a station or whatever, there'll be different ways of approaching each thing, because they want to have people come back and replay those missions as kind of replayability.
I was gonna say, so it's not a 40-hour game. It's 40 hours for the first playthrough.
Yes.
And then if you want to tackle it a different way, could be 80 hours.
Well, that's good. Those are the best kinds of games. I mean, it's like I played the original Crisis through multiple times just because each level was like, here's a bunch of bad guys. This is where you need to get. You figure it out.
Like the first hour of that game is just like peak. It's so good.
Fantastic.
It helps that those devs now all work for Star Citizen. So
I know, right?
Literally, they all work for Star. Like John Crew was part of the original dev team for Crisis. So
I wonder how much that has influenced the mission design. Because it's one of my favorite shooter single player experiences, just because it gives you that freedom, and it does it better than games like Far Cry or something. Just because it had much more in-depth physics, and the AI were scary as heck. You could snipe somebody from a cliff like a mile away, and then the AI would run into the jungle and like hunt you down. It was terrifying. So like it was just interesting.
Demo.
You're like, yeah. You're like, wow, they're actually behaving like people would in a realistic situation.
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Now if they can just get AI into not derp. That's the problem with Star Citizen right now.
So you know the mission, in Crisis where you first go over like that beach, like you go over the hill and you see like that cove, and it's your first experience of like, this is where it opens up, sort of thing. So they got to do that, but on an Idris, and you have the bay doors open and you can look out and it's like, okay, now I can go and do whatever I want.
You know they're gonna have that sequence where the bay door opens to like a full battle, like a fleet battle, and like some ship like explodes in front of you as you're like taking off, or like the ship is getting torn apart as you're taking off. It's gonna be dope.
Yeah. What I always like to point out to people who get confused about, because this is one thing that always comes up with Squadron. People are always like, well, Squadron is going to be multiple episodes. It's multiple games, really. There's 3 different games that they're looking to build. And this is just the first one. So they're not going to really move all these developers off of the first game. But the difference between Squadron 1 and Squadron 2, whatever it's going to, Squadron 42 1 and Squadron 42 2, is that once Squadron 42, this first game, is released, you can move a lot of those developers off to Star Citizen, because then Star Citizen can become the the R&D department for new content. So anything you develop for Star Citizen can then be ported to the second Squadron game. So you don't have to have all of those people building like, how do you fly a ship or shoot a gun or, this mechanic, because that mechanic can be built in Star Citizen and then ported to Squadron. So it's kind of the reverse. Once Squadron is out, then you have the reverse situation where Squadron 2 is going to take a little bit longer because Star Citizen needs to get done. And then Squadron 42 Part 2 will be that. So.
Plus, you're not creating all original assets from the ground up again.
And technologies, yeah.
Yeah, you can just port it over. So, all right. The next question comes from Nightcob, who asks, do you think that the introduction of more quantum and virtual AI can be used as a stopgap to make Star Citizen Universe feel more alive and breathing while we wait for proper server meshing and higher player counts?
Wait, quantum AI? Well, I don't know what that is.
So, the backend dynamics system has 2 or 3 versions of AI. They have what they call subsumption AI, which is the AI that we interact with on a daily basis in the game. That's the typical.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the backend economy simulation.
Yes, the quantum.
For some reason, I was thinking quantum AI is like some next level like AI that controls FPS guys. I was like, I never heard about this. Like, it sounds like something that Chris Roberts would promise, but
so it's a step down. Each level is a step down in like intelligence. Like virtual AI is this between the economy simulation, which just a point of data that has moving product from point A to point B. Virtual AI is this thing that once the quantum gets turned into a subsumption AI, once it goes from being pirate generic marker here to this is a pirate who's attacking this person. If that person managed to get away, then that pirate will then transition into what's called the virtual AI, where they're like a person now and they have personality traits, but they're not on the servers. And then when another player gets close to them, then they can be pulled out. Say if you run away and then you come back with friends, then you can fight that same AI. But it's kind of because it now lingers in that area and has its own kind of desires and goals. It's just a list of like behaviors that it will do depending on if it's left alone doing other things, and then kind of randomizes.
It's overly complicated. I don't know if I need that in my game.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
That's the thing with Star Citizen though, right? Is like it feels like everything in the game is way overkill. Where you're like, I'm not even going to be aware of like this super crazy dynamic simulation in the background that took them 5 years to develop versus just some simple bit of code that like triggers things at certain moments. Yeah. But for the occasional time where it's like that crazy bit of going over the top with their system, it does seem to make the difference. So if like 5 out of 10 times that extra effort really is barely perceived by most people, okay, but the other part of the time, it's what makes Star Citizen like that special, crazy game that we're all like super excited about. Then, yeah, I don't know. It might be worth it.
It's also a performance thing. Like the transition from being a quantum-based simulation, which will also control the emissions. So now the missions will be generated randomly based off of what's going on. So like if you're in a system that's suddenly getting a high amount of pirates, they don't have to build new missions for, oh no, this system's getting a lot of pirates, we need to like quickly code a bunch of missions and throw it out there. It'll just randomly generate missions based off of pirates and throw it at you. So the game can be more like engaging, like, you see more pirates coming in there.
So if you're playing on Wednesday and there's like a surplus of pirates in the system, you're going to like get tons of different pirate missions, and it'll be like more of a battle day or something like that. And then another day it might be more trading focused or something.
Yeah. So it depends on what's the activity.
I can't imagine that'll be much of a stopgap, just because dynamically generated missions, just by their nature, don't sound like they'll be as entertaining as custom crafted missions. It'll be like kill 3 pirates and land here, and you'll be like, oh, how interesting. That's probably what it's going to be. It would be neat if they could chain mission sequences together in a more like dynamic way, where they can pull entities from certain missions together and start creating unique missions. But at the same time, it'll probably also end up feeling like a Diablo level, right? Where you're like, well, I've never played this Diablo level before, but I'm not surprised by anything that I see.
I've seen this mission variant before. Kill these guys and go down to this bunker and kill this guy, and then pick up this object and come back and deliver. It's like, oh yeah, it's just 3 different missions that they just smushed together. So, I don't know. I think that's part of making Star Citizen a living, breathing universe, is having that, seeing ships fly around you and feeling like you're not just alone in a void. But I don't know if that'll engage players as much as other people. I think you kind of need both. You need the ability to be like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of NPCs flying around me, and then seeing that ship, that Idris with 50 players on it, just being like, come on, nerds, we're gonna go, overthrow a government, and just seeing what you do with that. You need both of those things to really make you feel engaging, because otherwise, I'm
surprised they haven't taken advantage more of just the quantity of ships they have in the game, but only a handful of them are coded as like enemy AI in game. So you keep running into like the same 5 or 6 ships.
Eclipse, Avenger.
Yeah, exactly. In your missions, you're like, okay, now the big bad guy's the hammerhead or whatever, and it's like, we have like 100+ variants of ships to pull from, and it doesn't seem like it'd be that hard to code the AI for each ship, because most of them fly similarly. Like all the light fighters would just need slight tweaking. Yet we always see the exact same group of light fighters when there's like 20 light fighters or more to pull from. I'm just surprised they haven't thrown more of that into the game. It's like I love the Prowler ship in terms of how it looks. It's completely worthless as like for doing anything with it, but it looks awesome, and it's like it would be perfect if they had picked that as the Ninetales dropship, because the side opens up and guys jump out.
Yeah, it's a cool ship.
Yeah, but instead we get another colorless black, so it's like we're just keep seeing the same ships over and over, when it's like you've got this giant pool of ships to pull from. Like, why not use that? Make it a little more interesting.
All right. The next question comes from Rabid Chinchilla, who asks, what Star Citizen career are you most interested in? Start with you, Ollie. What career are you most interested in Star Citizen?
It's a tough question. I guess at the moment it's like any career where I get to explore, but I think the thing that I've enjoyed most off recording has been the quantum mining. So just like me and my space truck mining quantum, and then going, like, I got like a digital timer next to my joystick, and I like set that for 14 minutes, because in the mole, which is what I've been mining in, there's like a period of time where you're walking around the ship and stuff, and you don't have that timer. So like, yeah, I like mining. It's fun. Bit of danger.
It's kind of relaxing too, especially once you know how to do it. It's that kind of mindless, like I can just
throw on a good AstroPub podcast, and away you go.
Yeah, LevelCap.
I'm excited for capital class mining. I want my Orion, and I just want to grind up those asteroids.
You have one?
Yeah, maybe I might have.
Good. Just we need to know.
Yeah, we don't need a dollar figure, but yeah, I might have the Orion and the what is it? The Pioneer. That's my big. That was my big buy. That I was just like, I have to have this ship. Yeah, base building, of course. I'm excited about all things planetary building, so I can't wait to see that in about 7 years. And
sometime before the heat death of the universe.
Yeah, I want cargo hauling missions. I'm so uninterested in the trading gameplay right now because it's not dynamic. It's boring as shit. Like I if you enjoy it, that's fine because I understand flying bigger cargo ships is actually fun, but I want cargo missions and I want cargo to weigh something and I want my ship to feel like it's straining to hold its altitude in heavy G or like heavy gravitational fields and stuff and like bringing it in for the perfect landing. And then when I get to the location, queue up look at the mission board at that location, load up some more cargo like it's Euro Truck Simulator, take that somewhere else. And I'm waiting for that to come into the game. They haven't exactly promised that exact loop, or maybe they have and I just haven't noticed, but that's what I want. I want to be a cargo hauler with like a good gameplay loop behind it.
Okay. Yeah, they actually have talked about that. It's just one of those things that they need to get the stepping stones in line, like physicalized inventory is the next, or the physicalized cargo is the next step towards that, and then the dynamic.
And I think they want the hangars also. They want your persistent hangars in the game.
Can I just go off on one about the persistent hangars thing?
Go ahead.
Because like back in 2015, I had, is it the New York hangar? Like the Y one?
The Revel in York. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. And it was so cool because you have all your ships lined up. I had my Constellation Phoenix, and that was like, this game is going to be great. But now I come back, no, where's my hangar gone? You can't imagine like a car garage, but for spaceships, and you could just have them all dotted out. That'd be so sweet.
You can tell.
Well, I mean, isn't that the idea? Isn't that the idea though? Is like when you'll probably be able to use one of your hangar credits at a station. So you're like, okay, here's my giant capital class hangar. And now you can fit whatever ships you want in there. So you could line up all your ships in the hangar and then they'll like remember their position. So you could, set up your hangar custom and then put all your hangar flare in there. And it's supposed to have HABs integrated to the hangar. So instead of you waking up in the HAB unit of a station, you wake up in your hangar with all your ships laid out there and you're ready to go on a mission. And that sounds dope. So I think that's kind of the idea, but it does suck that you can't just like pop into your hangar that you used to have. I'm not really sure why they would delete the hangar module, but I imagine it's just because stuff would happen that would break it along the way.
Also, you can buy stuff for the hangar module right now. I have a problem with that. The fact you can buy stuff for a hangar module that just doesn't exist.
Yeah, I've got some old. Yeah, I've got a whole bunch of old stuff like fish tanks and things that were like awarded to you back in 2014 or something that we just haven't seen in forever.
LevelCap, you may need to refresh your video.ninja link just to make sure, because I think you're
refresh it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're gone black.
It happens sometimes.
Okay, so I just refreshed
just a page. Yeah.
Share your camera. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, some people in chat are like, wait, that was how hangars worked back in 2015. Yeah, both Olli and LevelCap have been around for a long time. They've just been in the shadows. And
so that's when I first backed, and then I
did that work, by the way?
Let me refresh it real quick again. No, for some reason.
I do see myself on VOD Ninja right now.
Did you hit like play? Let me try something real quick. Sometimes this works. No, it didn't work. Try clicking the link again. Try leaving it and click the link again. question answer session, but it's also technical difficulty session.
Yeah, keep going, Al.
Yeah. So, what was I going to say? Professions. Obviously, my profession is opening up a bar in game because that's what I want to do. To help the players. That would be sweet
if you could own a business.
Yeah. Well, my plan is to turn like a ship into a bar and then trying to get players to come on and drink and hang out and that kind of stuff, just because of a social gathering place.
Is it the Gemini Starliner?
Yeah, there's the Genesis. Yeah. And
Genesis, that's what it is. You should just own one of those and just transport people in your bar. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. And the other thing I really want to do is smuggling. So the next the whole like missions for like illicit missions for 317.2 has been like yes. It's mostly just returning what they used to do back to the game, but it's like finally returning to this. So that worked there. LevelCap. All right, the next question comes from Nightcob, who asks, do you think the quote-unquote onboarding experience work is potentially a little too early, based on the fact that we have seen/heard only a little of the work being down on the new flight model? Reduced combat speeds, the new QT missions, stabilized damage/armor, physicalized damage/armor, and the new weapon types. LevelCap?
No. Sorry.
It's okay. Ollie, no?
I think you could probably bring it down to for the people who like the financial side of things and spreadsheets and stuff. If you invested the time in making a decent onboarding experience right now, I think you would probably see the return in dollar value in terms of people buying the game, buying ships in the game, upgrading their stuff, even though you're going to have to spend a bit more money and time updating the experience as new patches come out. From what I understand of the building blocks UI and stuff, it's supposed to give them a lot more flexibility. So if they design the missions with that in mind of like, hey, flight dynamics might change a little, the AI might change a little, certain functionality of the game might change a little, you could design the tutorial system in a way to be malleable enough where you could just update some of the UI a little, do a little bit of tweaking here and there when they mess with stuff. But for the most part, I think it could be a relatively inexpensive experience if designed properly, and it would almost certainly translate into a much better return on player retention, people spending money in the game. It seems like it would be very worthwhile for CIG to do it.
Ollie.
I think, okay, so my onboarding experience, how I would imagine it, is a player spawning in Orison and getting to Port Olisar. That's literally the onboarding experience. I don't think it needs to do much more than that, because as soon as you wake up, get out of your habs, buy some armor, a gun, and then make your way to the spaceport and get to Port Olisar, land. I think that is like, I think LevelCap was saying earlier, that's like 70% of the game. And you can do like a little bounty mission in between or something. Like, I think that's all you need for onboarding for now. And then obviously later on you could have like, mission specific onboarding segments. So like Salvage, I'm sure, cargo, more in depth of the bounty with like damage models and flights and stuff. So
yeah, that sounds like it would make sense, because like we kind of have a pretty good idea of what at least tier 0 or tier 1 mining is, right? Like the base level of mining. So if they made a tutorial for that, it probably wouldn't have to be changed too much going down the road, at least for getting into mining. And likewise with most of the other professions. Then again, yeah, it's like bounty hunting. Tier 2 bounty hunting is about like bringing back the guy alive, right? Or incapacitated. So yeah, that tutorial might have to be completely scrapped, but who knows? If the tutorials are kind of basic check box type systems with like basic UI, it would be annoying work and laborious work, but it might be a small team that needs to work on it. Might not be as expensive,
Yeah.
Once the building blocks are set up, then all you have to do is just keep updating and adapting.
Just have it optional and like give people money for doing it.
Yeah.
Like in the game. And then people can like, oh, today I'm gonna do the mining advanced tutorial.
Yeah.
You know?
I think there's definitely a place for at least a basic tutorial. How do wake up, go get your ship, spawn your ship, take off your ship, pick up a box, put in your ship, fly that ship to a location, drop off the box. Something as simple as that would get people most of the experience they need. And like you said, making it making it optional is a big thing, but also allowing it for, updating it over time, like getting a very basic thing in that you don't have to worry about damage states or other crazy, like all of the crazy additions they're going, the flight mod, new flight like speeds. You're just learning about getting
power
up,
triangle.
out. Yeah. It's just getting your ship, turning it on, and flying it. That you don't care about anything else. Something as basic as that will get people to understand a little bit more about the game. And I
think
played.
They just need to hold people's hand for the first hour.
Yeah.
And then that's fine. I think that's all people need.
Yeah, you just need to get a little hand holding, and people kind of get their feet wet, and then you throw the keys at them and say, "Hey, good luck, kid." And then then they can go off and die. But then at least they had that first hour experience of like, "Oh, I get what this game is," and then they explode, and then they go.
As long as they know how to get back into space in their ship after they die,
Yeah,
it's like as long as they can get back in it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next question comes from Nakwash, who asks question for both guests. You built your following on other games. How are your viewers reacting for you doing Star Citizen content? Ollie?
So really weird. I don't know whether my old viewers aren't there or are there, but like the views are great. I'm really happy with how I'm doing lately. So I try not to focus on that too much because you get yourself trapped looking at numbers and what does my audience want? And I think a big part of YouTube is just like doing what you enjoy because it's easier to do and it's more authentic. So I don't know, to answer your question, how my viewers, I think they like it because I'm doing okay. But also I've had a really warm reception on the Star Citizen community. So new people and stuff.
We are a very warm, welcoming hug. Sometimes that hug is death hug, but it's still a hug.
I'll take a hug.
Level cap.
I think that counts for a lot, actually, is the community. Honestly, it is. Yeah. I see people say it on Reddit and they're like, this community is fantastic. And sometimes it's a joke, but it really is. Like, I streamed some of the latest update for Battlefield the other day. And I mean, the comments were so toxic at certain times, and then it comes out and it's just this big divide of like, we hate the game, we love the game, whatever. And it's almost just stressful reading those comments after like launching a Star Citizen video, and most people are like, oh, that's cool, oh, I'm flying this new ship. They're just talking about the game and what they like about it, and it's not like, oh, you did this wrong, you idiot, you don't know what you're doing or something. It's like, it just feels like a more mature, more receptive community, and I hope that never changes as we go mainstream in the mainstream and capture that COD audience, man.
Yeah, like a lot of my videos were just me learning the game, and I don't know if I could have done that in many other games because I didn't know what I was doing. Like I said earlier, like I got on a train and knew Babbage and I was freaking out because I didn't know if I was going the right way. And I think a lot of people just enjoyed me going through that probably learning process they also went through, of just like, this game is kind of complicated, but once you get it, it's really fun. So yeah, the community, I owe it a lot to the community that they allowed me to kind of just not understand stuff and it be not criticized.
Yeah. There's a thing that I've heard. There's a phenomena in the community where people really enjoy watching new players experience the game. And so now that you both have experienced most of the game, you'll see it as well, where someone comes in and you see that first moment of them just like clicking with them and them going, what? This game is what? We can do what? And you're just like, yeah, of course you can land on a planet. Like I can land anywhere I want on the planet. That's not a big deal. It's something we've been doing for months now. But to them, it's like so used to skyboxes and bound and invisible walls and everything like that. The idea of like an entire planet that's landable, that has, where you can land wherever you want, you can get out, you can run around, you can get back in, you can blow up your ship there if you wanted to, you could be stranded, you could run anywhere. And it's not like procedurally generated. It's all, got some handcrafted elements that just kind of makes people's minds explode. And there's definitely an element of the community that's just like, we want to help new players in, but we also want to watch new players experience the game.
Watch the struggle.
It gives us that like what we remembered when we were first players, first playing, like how big it was. So.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun showing the game to Matimio for the first time, who's been my YouTuber friend since the early days. And like just being able to like show him Star Citizen, kind of like his first go around with it. And it's like enjoyable for me. Like I've done all the missions again, but to see it again through his enthusiasm and his surprise every time around. And then seeing Darkness's tweet today showing off his dual HOSAS setup. I'm like, oh, you got the bug, buddy. You got the bug. Welcome.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that kind of stuff just cheers me up. It's fun because there's that click moment, as you say, when you're just like, oh my God, this game's not like anything else. It's way beyond.
And it's not even, I say that a lot, and I always think, am I being hyperbolic when I say that? I'm like, nah, it's not. Like, I gotta go back to play, like, I've been playing Fallout 4 recently just because I got the bug to go play it. And I'm like, this is nice, but I know where the boundaries are. I know where where you can go. I know the play spaces, which is a nice change at times, but at the same time, it's like, I wish I could go further. I wish this was a little bit bigger, or this was doing that. And you kind of get into that mindset. And so, I always come back to Star Citizen no matter what I do, just because I'm like, there's nothing like it.
I know it's easy how it gets that sort of cult like label at times, because you're like, there aren't any other games trying to do this. Nobody else is like even trying to come close to this game because it's just too insane. It's too ambitious. And you're like, you're trying to explain it to people, and they're like, you're crazy, man. You're like, it's gonna be real. I'm telling you, it's gonna be real.
Yeah, I swear. Yeah. But I also say that it's Star Citizen's in a huge place because you came from like a first person player or first person shooter sort of experience, LevelCap, and Ollie, you came from more of the open world GTA 5 sort of world. The fact that both y'all's audience would probably also be into Star Citizen because it is a first person shooter and it is an open world kind of shows that Star Citizen is this big play space. It's this weird game where it can appeal to a lot of different creators and gamers in general. I think the only one who might not be interested is an RTS, and it's Chris Roberts. So I'm sure he's got some crazy idea to bring RTS gamers into the game somehow.
I love that there's a competitive angle to it too, with the space combat where, you watch A1 and he's like gotten into the weeds and meta so deep, and he's got like terminology for all these techniques that like never existed before because nobody's had space combat on this level before. He's literally been inventing the rules of space combat to an extent, and the skill ceiling in the game is just so massive. So you can approach it from that angle too, where you're like, well, do I want to take the GTA route and just go on a fun adventure with my friends, or do I want to get like hardcore and become the world's best space fighter pilot and like take on people and like blow up convoys and like take territory in the persistent universe? Like, I love that it's got that competitive angle too, because that does appeal to me. It's like I could go out and mine space rocks if I want to chill, or I could go hardcore, pedal to the metal, like just like living on the edge, trying to kill everything I see.
Conquer everything. Yeah.
I'm really interested with the racing. I think it's super, super awesome.
Have you seen
I would love to get into it.
Have you seen the Snake Pit?
I would love to be in a championship and just, top 5.
There we go.
It's fair.
Have you seen the Snake Pit yet, Ollie?
I haven't. I've seen it out of game. I haven't seen it in game yet. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm looking for that.
Yeah, I like the racing too. I'd like to see them, like right now it seems like a lot of the racing is like really tight turns and maneuvering and stuff. I'd like to see some like almost longer format ship racing where it's like, there is some maneuvering and stuff, but maybe at like 1,000 meters a second, where you really have to like punch it. And then it's like about hitting those turns perfectly. Just because sometimes I'm like, I have no idea what this pilot's doing right now. He's not even looking at anything because he's got to like angle his thrusters at some weird angle to make the turn right. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening right now, but it is cool to watch. I think I was looking at the snake pit in 17.2 and watching two arrows fly just randomly. I showed up and there's two arrows racing each other, and one clipped a wall and spun out and exploded. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I can't wait. I can't wait till there's like a league of this. It would be sweet.
Yeah. There's a GXR, I want to say their name is. There's some group that's been trying to do that recently. And of course,
I think I watched a video the other day actually of like a tournament around ArtCorp.
Yeah, XGR. Yeah, and Atmo Esports. I know the guys behind Atmo Esports. They're the group.
It was Black Maze Group. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
Atmo Esports does like the Stanton 7. They do the Daymar Rally and a bunch of other stuff, but it's mostly like vehicle based racing and stuff like that too. So, all right. Next question comes from Nightcob, who asks, one day there may be a higher cost to running multiple ships. If you had to go down to one ship in the verse, what would it be and why?
Oh, harsh question.
Me first?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Put you on the spot.
God, I mean, I don't know if I could do a one ship thing, but man, it would probably end up being something super practical. I like dogfighting. I don't think I could enjoy Star Citizen without the option to dogfight. As much as I like cargo running, I'd be so sad if I couldn't dogfight also. So it might end up being something like an Avenger, maybe a 300i, probably the Avenger though, because that one just handles really nicely in Atmo. It can carry a bit of cargo if you need to. You can bed log on it. You can kind of run 80 to 90% of the content in the game in an Avenger. Titan anyway. Yeah. So I'd probably go for that.
Good old dependable penguin. So
yeah.
Ollie?
I don't have a ship, but I have requirements. Would that work for an answer?
Sure.
So I need good visibility. So the less frames, the better. Somewhere to park a car. And yeah, can put up in a dogfight. Those are my three things. So I think it's a Cutlass Blue.
Okay.
You might also like the Reliant. The Reliant can fit a golf cart in the back.
That's fine.
And it's a little bit more of a dogfighter than the Cutlass. But
have you been in the Cutlass Blue?
The Cutlass Blue is nice. I like it.
There's like no frame. It's beautiful.
The Cutlass Blue can't really fit a car though.
That's true.
You can kind of get a Knox through the doorway or something.
Could I rip out the stuff inside?
I know. It's like I just want the blue cockpit, but not the other stuff.
Modularity, please.
That was an idea at some point, was being able to swap out the cockpit size. So who knows? Yeah. Also, there's also the space motorcycle, the Ranger, which is going to come out soon too. You can definitely fit a Ranger in a blue, which is like a ground vehicle.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
Two-wheeled.
Can I have a bike that carries boxes?
Yeah, that's the Ranger CR has that.
Right.
Yeah.
Done.
Nice. Have you flown the Reliant, Ollie?
I remember that's the one that spins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't flown it, but I watched your video on it.
Okay. Yeah, the visibility in that is like just you can see anything. You can look straight down as you're like landing. It's kind of cool. So you can just see what's below you. Yeah, that does sound pretty good.
I'm basic. I just say the Cutlass Black because you could do anything in it, anything and everything, and those doors are really the side doors are really nice. So it's
safe, man. It's like one of the safest options.
It's not safe
until your
as a ship.
comes off.
It's not safe as a ship. You're gonna blow up.
Yeah, try using the afterburner in thick atmo. The ship just starts doing crazy stuff. You're like, oh, this is not aerodynamic. All right.
You can also feel the rattling. Like like the sound literally picks up. You can hear the ship just like it wants to rattle itself apart. So it's really good audio stuff for that. But, yeah, the next question comes from QPan, who asks, "How is everyone doing today?"
I'm doing good.
Doing good?
Good.
You good?
Yeah,
I'm fine. Yeah, man.
I mean, actually, okay, so I'm gonna
go for
pivot and say I've been playing the PTU today, recording videos, and I've had 2 crashes.
Yeah.
And about 4.5 hours of footage, like 30 minutes of which I can actually use. So I would say not good, but good.
PTU, man, people don't understand the PTU struggle for making content.
It's so hard.
Like
5-minute video is like 4 hours, I swear.
Yeah. PTU is the most unstable experience, but it's one of those things where you gotta tough it out if you want that new stuff that's like really cutting edge new.
Yeah, I want to make videos on like the cool new stuff. That's what people, I imagine, would want to see. So I just got to struggle through, I guess.
Yeah. I launched a video today that was PTU stuff, and it's like the AI are just like teleporting around. I die.
Yeah.
I get incapacitated on an elevator multiple times. Like it's cool because you're like, this is neat new content, but this is not the way you should see it.
No.
I had a weird one today. I was in, I think it was Orison? No, New Babbage. And the elevator doors were opening, but it was an invisible wall. It's like there's just a weird one. Like there was me and 2 other guys
and
trying
you
to
couldn't
get in
go
an
through
elevator.
it?
Yeah, so it was just like the doors would open and you're just like invisible wall banging up against it. It's like, come on, please.
The legacy of bugs with elevators in this game is just insane. It's wild. Now they're trying to speed them up. Imagine what else they're going to break this next time.
It's one of those things where there's going to be a bug. There are like 3 things which will kill you or ruin your game experience: elevators, asteroids, and the ground. One of those 3 things is going to end you in some way, shape, or form, and all 3 of them have so many weird bugs that'll always come back. But as always, as a friend of mine always used to say, we'll look back on these and remember these as the bad old days, the good bad old days, when the game's more smoother and it's a little bit easier to play. Even like a year from now, it'll probably be a lot.
Yeah, and there'll be all the new players, and they'll be like, "You don't know what we went through.
You don't remember the days. I remember when the elevators would eat you."
Literally.
All right. Next question comes from Steve B. Dancer, who asks, "As I have asked before, with Salvage coming, how would you prevent people or their friends from salvaging their own ships and then claiming them for free, otherwise free money?" Or in other words, free money.
That's a good point.
Yeah, there's definitely some issues with the claim system in the game.
I got it.
Okay.
I figured it out. So how about this? How about when you sell your salvage, it has it goes through like a security thing, like at an airport. And they're like, "Hey, this is the ship that you claimed an hour ago. No. Now you're in trouble. Now you have a crime step."
That would be interesting. I was thinking the same thing for like if a pirate destroys your cargo ship, like could your cargo be tagged, right? So if they load up your cargo, now they're flagged as a criminal because they've got it's stolen property,
stolen goods,
right?
Yeah.
So maybe you could do some sort of stolen or something. The salvage one's a little more complicated, right? Because you're like, aren't they just like dismantling it down into its raw materials? But yeah, I don't know.
It's 50% LevelCap ship and 50% my ship, so we can get through customs. It's okay.
I think the honest answer is just time. Like the time investment of stripping down a ship to its bare parts and then selling it is probably not going to make you as much money as like take an Aurora. An Aurora probably is not going to make a ton of money if you stripped it down to its bare pieces and then sold the return. And
but what about an 890?
Yeah, but
what
an
about
890,
an 890?
But an 890 takes like an hour to return. Like in that time, you could go off and salvage another ship or do another thing. Like doing an 890 would take an hour or multiple hours to break down.
Right. Yeah. I spawn my 890, then I spawn my hammerhead, then I spawn like you could just, if you have enough big ships, you can keep spawning.
But let's be real. If you have a 890 and a hammerhead, are you really salvaging to like make money?
Yeah, I don't know. They do need a system in place to try and, because you want salvage to be worthwhile. Like if you found somebody's blown up 890, it should be like jackpot. You know, I'm gonna make some money off of this.
Yeah.
So they got to find some way to cool it down. Either making the claim time insane as the game gets more stable. You know, where
no, don't say that.
Yeah,
no. I got videos to make.
I don't know. They're gonna have to create some sort of system that just detects if you're salvaging your own ship, you know, or if you try and salvage somebody else's ship without their permission, it'll make you a criminal, and the cops will show up if you're in a high security system. But as far as like pyro goes,
like you should be able to salvage your own ship.
Maybe they'll have to. Maybe you'll have to start proving the loss of your ship to the insurance companies.
No. I didn't drive it straight into an asteroid, I promise.
You know, what'd be funny is if at some point they're like, okay, your insurance works in security systems that the UAE controls, but if you fly it to Pyro, well, we're not covering your ship loss in Pyro. So like, so like they could detect if you're salvaging your own ship in Stanton because they got sensors everywhere. But if you salvage it in Pyro, you're like, well, I did it, but insurance isn't going to cover the loss of my ship in Pyro. Could do something like that. I don't know.
They've talked about that in the past, about having higher insurance premiums if you lose your ship in a place where they won't cover you. So it's like, you know, instead of like, oh yeah, you lost in Pyro, cool. Now we're gonna, you know, you're gonna pay certain extra money just to get it back now, more money.
But my Javelin has lifetime insurance, so it should be good for salvage, right?
It should be.
I gotta wonder though. It's like, what insurance company would cover you flying into Vandal space? You know, they're like, why are you doing that? You're gonna die. Like, we're not covering that, you idiot.
Yeah.
So, all right. The next question comes from Mizomaniac, who asks, "How do you guys feel about the PI missions?" Those are the private investigative missions. I think those are the ones you find like the bodies in.
Oh
caves.
my god!
Don't get LevelCap started on cave investigator missions.
I hate everything cave related in this game right now. Like, I got excited about caves. I was like, oh, this seems cool. We could go into caves. We can find stuff to mine. Whoever designed the cave system where you have to find the freaking body at the end of it, like, I mean, I'd have to calm myself down if they're like, you get to meet the cave guy. I'm like, just be cool, man. Just be cool.
Look, I
spent hours in the damn caves. They're horrible. Like,
they are.
And they're not just horrible to navigate, but they're horribly buggy. Like you get stuck in the cave. You need other people to get you out of stuck spots. Like, it's broken. The vaulting is broken. Like, it's just a freaking nightmare. Escaping prison one time in the cave system, my foot just randomly got stuck between two rocks. Like, the game doesn't have an unstuck command at the moment, which is just like, oh my god, it's
you know, the Mile High Club.
Yeah.
So I got stuck between a chair and a plant, and I literally couldn't get out.
And nobody else can come and help you.
Exactly. I'm like, well, okay, I'm logging out now. Okay.
Those assets are literally probably from 2015. Like, they haven't touched that thing for half a decade. So
that's the problem. I love the idea of private investigative missions and even a dynamic tunnel system, but there has to be a good gameplay sequence to it that's not just like run around forever and lose your mind in a cave that looks, the texture's all the same everywhere. So like, you'll be in one narrow passageway and it looks identical to every other one. And I get it, you're supposed to buy flares and throw them down or whatever, but I mean,
they should have like a tether system.
Yeah.
There's a really good game, a space game. I can't remember what it's called. If anyone in the chat knows.
That alien, was it Prometheus thing where they send out the little drones and they map out the ship, you know?
Yeah.
They make a 3D map, you know? So you ping or you send out a drone or whatever, and it gives you a 3D map of the tunnel system, and then you navigate it. Like, it just needs something to make it less awful.
Yeah,
because it's so unrewarding. Somebody posted a video on Reddit the other day of finding the body in the cave, and they're like, just in case anybody was wondering if it was possible, like, I found the body. And
you can.
They're even surprised when they see it. They're like, what? Is that the body we found?
It's real?
Yeah. And here's your 4,000 UEC.
So I did a bounty mission in the cave, and I don't think I went all the way down. There's like a certain spot where you can then spiral down like a really deep bit, and I didn't go down there, and I was too scared after hearing your story. I was like, right, I'm doing my bounty and I'm leaving now because LevelCap says caves are bad.
When the caves first came out, I did that PI mission because I was like, oh, cool, this is like, I'm gonna go explore it. It took me 3 hours to find the body. And I'm like, how much do I get? 4,000 UEC?
And that's not a fun 3 hours either. That's not like, oh, what's this over here?
I'm not
Look
immersed.
At this cool thing.
I feel like I never want to go back in a cave again.
Cave.
It's like actually getting lost in a cave for 3 hours, where you're just like, no, I don't want to ever go caving again. This is a terrible experience. 1 star on TripAdvisor and moving along, you know.
But caves could be cool. They're just like, and also that bounty hunting one that you're talking about, Ollie, which is like, I think that was my first, did a stream called Noob Citizen, and like my stream just helped me get used to the game. And so they like told me to go on this bounty mission, and it took forever to get down there. But also the whole time I'm like, why are these like renowned criminals hiding in a freaking cave on a moon with no atmosphere? Like, it makes no sense. You go into this like crappy cave and you're like, yeah, the life of crime really seems worthwhile.
It really paid off.
You guys are partying in your cave a mile underground with
no lights.
Yeah. Like, this is a nightmare. It didn't feel like it fit the universe of Star Citizen. The story didn't line up, and I was like, I was just annoyed on multiple fronts.
They should have a crashed 890 instead.
Hey,
yeah.
We've one of my viewers actually proposed an idea of Jump Town. Instead of it being an outpost, have it being a crashed 890 jump.
Oh yeah, with tons of like stuff in the cargo bay.
Yeah.
So that would be neat.
They turned an 890 jump into a drug lab, basically. That's why it's called Jump Town, because it's an 890 jump. So,
that's actually a really good idea.
Yeah.
It also makes sense. The latest Jump Town. Why do they schedule stuff on the 4th of July weekend in the States, man? Like, come on. Don't they know American holidays? Come on, man.
All right. The next question comes from Slayer8SF, who asks, are we getting personal hangers with 318? I do not know. Last I checked, I didn't think we are.
I feel like they're getting
It wasn't on the list. It wasn't on the latest progress list. So that makes me think no. But
all the new hangers on the space stations, though, instead of landing pads, makes me think that it's coming. Because if you go to, like, in the PTU, if you go to, is it MIC L2, which is a new one, it's mostly hangers. So I'm wondering, that's your window.
I think it's the plan.
Well, and did you see that the landing pads now, you can just plop down on a landing pad without requesting landing? Kind of like a land base. Yeah, so I guess that's how it works, is like if you request landing, it should give you a hangar. And then if you're just like, oh, I'm in a hurry, I need to buy something real quick at the shop, you can just put it down on one of the exterior pads.
Like actual parking.
Yeah. Well, and how it works on the moons too, right? At those bases, you can just
don't have to request,
set it down on a pad. You don't have to request.
That's so much better.
Yeah. Oh my god.
And
I can't believe they only just got a button for requesting landing. By the way, like why was that? Why is that a recent thing?
I don't know.
It's like a thumb button on my joystick now.
It's
like
literally
a question, obviously, but
it's literally been on the community wish list for I would say since 3.0 launched. It's like, why don't we have a hotkey for just request landing? I don't want to have to go through this whole list and be like, click this button.
Yeah. There's like old tutorials of people creating scripts to do it and stuff. For like, oh, I've spent like 30 minutes programming this thing.
Yeah.
And just like, oh god.
Moist Noodle, who actually rated us earlier, he's the one who made this whole script for landing sequences, so people could just don't have to do anything but push a button. So
genius.
All right. But yeah, with 318, I do think that's the process. The key is persistent hangers, then personal hangers. And I think persistent hangers is coming with 318, where like if you put your ship down in a hangar, that hangar is now yours. Your ship is there. You go off, you log off, you come back, that ship is still there. But it won't be like once you leave, someone else can take that hangar. I think eventually.
So if I landed in hangar 2, didn't come on for 3 days, no one can land in hangar 2 for that time?
Yeah, hangar 2.
No, I don't think it works quite like that. We're like, I think the hangars will kind of be instanced, kind of like the Habs, right? Well, maybe some.
Yeah.
No, the Habs aren't. I can't remember how it is, but like obviously there's only like 40 hangars in a station or something like that. So if more than 40 people need to land there, your hangar will just be, if you're not on the server, it'll be like instanced somewhere else. And when you get back on, it'll be like, oh, I need to go to my hangar. It's personal hangar, and you'll hit that button, and it'll just probably take you to an instanced hangar somewhere.
Yeah, but I mean, but with the
station.
But with a persistence hangar, like you land in hangar 2 and you log out, you may eventually get like kicked out, but when you log back in, your ship is still in hangar 2. So like when you go down to claim your ship, you're like, oh, my ship's in hangar 2. You go to hangar 2 to get out there. It'll remember which hangar you were in. I think that's the initial like persistent hangar concept. And then eventually it'll be a personal hangar where you go to your personal hangar and then mess with your ship and do all these sorts of things. Like
that's what I really want.
So
a personal hangar.
That will be very cool. Having your ships kind of kitted out, set up. You got your cargo in one corner. You got your hab area. Maybe you got like a little medical bed or bay. Like having the modular hangar stuff with the different features that you could add onto it, like a quick heal bed, where you can actually start making your hangar a one-stop experience where it's like, okay, I only occasionally need to leave my hangar to get other things I need from like a station or whatever.
I feel
that'll
like
be pretty dope.
It would be like, it's bad, I shouldn't say it, but they could make so much money with hangar customization.
Well, I think they did have a bunch of stuff that you could buy back in the day, right? But
hangar flare.
I don't think they've been selling hangar flare for quite a while, or at least it hasn't been like included as like a promotional item or something.
I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know what's going on with hangar flare yet, but yeah, like Rella's pointing out, like the workbench, there used to be like a cot you could buy and a bunch of other stuff you could purchase. And the workbench was designed for you to like craft stuff, like take your weapons and then upgrade them to other aspects, like, make this rifle shoot faster but less accurate kind of thing. So, all right. The next question comes from HyperTurd85, who asks, will ships be able to be out of stock, as in not being able to claim one as the insurance has no new ships to give you because of supply demand?
I feel like that would be a annoying feature. I don't think anyone wants that.
No, somebody would burn down one of the studios with there'd be pitchforks outside. Imagine you spend $1,600 on your Kraken, right? And then you're like, oh wait, out of stock. Hang on,
it's a virtual thing.
Yeah. No, that can't happen.
Yeah, that's too far.
What they'll do eventually is link the claim timer with the availability of the ship. So eventually it'll be, you lost your Kraken, you're going to have to wait for a new Kraken to be sent to you or built and sent to you, which may take some more time. But a ship like an Aurora or an Avenger, they've got like literally billions of them that are made. So it's just like, cool. Well, we may not have any in our local area, but like the next system over has it. So we'll just bundle it up and send it to you. So now it's, instead of a 1 minute wait, it's a 4 minute wait or something like that.
It's still funny.
Yeah. So, all right. Last question from Slayer8SF, who asks, do we know what the mechanics are going to look like when it comes to loading your own ship when Cargo Refactor comes out?
Well, I have nightmares about it. I can tell you that much.
What are your nightmares?
I mean, have you ever seen the inside of a fully loaded like Caterpillar or the Hercules? There's like 1,000 boxes in there, and then they release the Drake Mule, which can carry one SCU box, and they're like, it's for loading ships. I'm like, what ship? What ship are you going to load with a freaking mule? Are you going to load a Hercules one box at a time? That'll be your entire gameplay experience for the next year.
I kind of like that, though. That'd be kind of an amazing video. Like 44 minutes of me loading a caterpillar with a mule.
I loaded.
Like, that's the video title, right?
I can see the title. I loaded 1 million SCU in a Hercules. You know.
Oh man. I hope they pull some future tech stuff with this, because let's look at a modern. Have you seen some of those like Chinese cargo bays that are like 100% AI automated? Mm-hmm. They'll unload the ship onto AI trucks, which will then drive on their own and offload them in a certain area that's all 100% organized. Like, we've already figured out how to do cargo in real life with full automation. Mm-hmm. Why should it be like, all right, like, Joe, go grab that crate and I'll grab the next one, like in 900 years. Like, please give us some future tech. I don't want to, like, if there's some sort of mini game to it, that's fine.
Yeah.
But dear God, if I park my whole C up to a station, I better not be unloading each one of those crates by hand. Like,
you gotta pay for that service.
So
I'll pay for it, man.
I think the plan is initially that you won't be loading anything by hand in 3.18. It'll be a timer. But you can move your boxes around by hand if you need to. So like if you're like, hey, I want to, take this box out and put it, or you can just move it. But there'll be a timer where it'll like slowly load your boxes over time as like individual entities doing so. And eventually they'll have AI characters or other things be able to do it as well, or you can do it yourself. But I think, because that's the one thing they said, is they're adding cargo decks or cargo elevators, freight elevators into stations in a future patch, which is where you go get your cargo, you put it onto the freight elevator, and the elevator then takes it down to your hangar, and then you load everything from the elevator to your hangar, to your ship. So, but knowing CIG, it's going to be knowing CIG is going to be a little bit of a combination of the two. For people like LevelCap, who's like, I don't want to sit here and load and unload a whole C all day. I just want to pay people to do it for me. They'll have that. Well, but then you have people like, who are like, I want to spend 17 hours.
And you back your truck up to the loading ramp.
Yeah.
And they're
You're not the guy that's loading the truck.
Exactly.
They've already got it pre-packed and whatever, and it comes in on pallets. And their objective is to load it as fast and efficiently as possible, because that's their business, to do it quickly and efficiently. And then the truck driver goes. He's not waiting around forever. Like, I respect the seeing everything work in the process of it.
Yeah.
But if it's super laborious, it's going to ruin it for me, man. Because I do want to be a cargo hauler, but I don't want to have to do something that's extremely, like, I want to fly my ship.
Yeah.
I don't want to load. I don't want the majority of it to be loading. If 5% of it's loading, fine.
Yeah.
But if 50% of it's loading my ship, then I'm going to be greatly disappointed with the cargo hauling experience.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be that. You got to remember also they're going to do bigger containers. Like right now it's 1 SCU containers, but eventually there'll be like 30 SCU containers. So you can just like
throw that's fair.
So sorry, Ollie, you say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, you know how you were saying about the AI moving the cargo stuff in China? Well, it made me think today. I was doing the Black Kite mission. Mm-hmm. And at the end, you have to do something on a computer or whatever, or like put in a thing. But like, why are the laptops in this game from like 10 years ago?
Because Chris Roberts likes.
Like, I looked at a laptop and it's like the oldest laptop that
they have desktops too. You're like, why would we have a desktop or a server rack?
Laptop? Why it has got a tiny little trackpad that's barely usable?
I can tell you. The two answers. The one answer is Chris Roberts is a big fan of aliens, and so he wants that aesthetic, the kind of retrofuturism aesthetic. And the lore reason is because AI has tried to kill people like every single time it was created. So people have just said no AI. We cannot do AI because it's psychotic. So all the technology is sort of stunted a little bit here and there. So they have a lore reason why, but the real reason is because Chris Roberts really loves aliens.
Doesn't the Reclaimer have like a curved CRT screen on it somewhere?
Yes.
I think one of the ships has an actual curved,
Legitimate
like old school
CRT.
CRT
I hope
monitor.
so.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what is happening right now?
Because that's what they had on the what was the name of the ship in Aliens?
Yeah.
It's that ship. So chat's gonna just chime in with 15 people saying the same answer. But the Nostromo, thank you. The Nostromo had that aesthetic, and so Chris Roberts and the Reclaimer is the Nostromo. That's the answer. So
yeah,
I'm fine with it. That's kind of like a bit of a parallel to Dune's lore, right?
Yeah.
Where like Dune's like this super, it's like in the future, but everything feels kind of retro at the same
outdated,
time.
Yeah.
And like if you've read all the books, then you understand that like humanity was enslaved by AI for like thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
And after they were able to rebel against this AI, that basically it became like, yeah, we're not using any sort of like computer tech from now on, or any sort of thing that's not super basic, you know? So it's like, it's all kind of hidden back in the lore, but I do like that concept where they're so afraid of AI. They're like, we need to fly by wire, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We have all these cool spaceships, but you got to just feel it out, you know? We're not going to like do all the calculating for you.
Yeah. That's all because Chris Roberts doesn't want to he didn't want to have a game where like you just have an AI control things, that you wanted players to actually physically control their ships and fly them rather than having to punch in a code and do that. But
I'll take some cargo loading AI though.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the one exception. They're like, all right, we're going to risk it here. I mean, how much damage can they do with loading cargo?
They still have limited AI. They still have some stuff like that. And I think the major difference will be like where you are. Like you go to like Stanton, yeah, they got like robots to do things for you. You're good. People and robots will do everything for you. But you go to like Pyro, there's old Jimmy. He's the only person who can unload and load stuff because they don't got nothing in Pyro. Old Jimmy with one hand, you know, that's all he's got. He's just gonna take a while. That'll be eventually the balance where like you want to go trading in a place that has no infrastructure, you're gonna have to move crates. But if you're moving stuff between moderately settled systems, yeah, they'll have someone to do it for you. So
we just, as long as they have the cargo loader mech, you know, then I'll be okay.
Exactly. The loader mech from Aliens. There we go, Chris. Please. All right, that was the last question. Thank you both for joining us for this question and answer session. Again, I'm going to say this again. Follow them and subscribe to them on their YouTube channels. If you haven't, who are you? Where have you been living for the last year? Please do follow them. You never know. You never know. And if you enjoyed this and you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on the podcast format, make sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're watching this on Twitch live, make sure you hit that follow button. And yeah, like I say every time, hope to see you someday in the black. Later, y'all.
Later. Thanks, Paul.